I think so. Sure. One line, I was like so 19. Like, I thought. Yeah, like a single page. Back here, like what? So I thought it was in like if we messed up, especially considering that like the cameras were huge. Yeah, like it's like a whole band moving around.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Happy October. It's October already, right? Oh, and it's fitting on the screen. I just noticed that. I'm like, wait, at the moment it fits on the screen. I'll take it for now. It's very exciting that it's October. Is anyone else excited for that? I'm ready. I'm so. I put so many lights in my front yard that I blew the fuse on my I was so excited. I was like, it's so glorious and beautiful. My kids were like, it's amazing. And then it like literally blew the entire fuse out. Now I have to call an electrician and I'm in trouble with my partner. She's like, you put too many lights up. I'm like, there's no such thing as too many lights. She's like, I would argue that if you blew the power out, that maybe it was too many. I'm like that. I'm still looking for more too. I'm like, oh, I'll fix it and then I can add more, right? She's like, you never learned, but that's okay. Right? I spent the whole weekend trying to put all my lights up and then that was my payoff. So random story for you. But we'll pick up where we left off with this and keep going with this chapter. I also want to mention, if you're looking at your syllabus, that our first homework assignment is due coming up. Remember, we have 2 homework assignments that are like a field trip or an activity and then a little write-up about it. So I'll either talk about that at the end today or next time, but it's coming up. So just to make sure it's kind of on your mind as we go into this week and the weekend and so on. It is due next week on Monday by the end of the day. Okay, so I'll talk about that either today or next time, but start thinking about it. Otherwise, we spent a lot of time last time, right? If I go back, talking about the different types of orientations, kind of debating, how we decide and how many times counts and all those things like that. And then what determines orientation, a little bit about statistics and homophobia and hate crimes and some of these things like that. And so what we'll look at today, we'll look at some of the mental health correlates and then some like behavioral stuff and bisexuality in specific. And then I have a couple of songs to play for you at the end before we move on to our next chapter. So as we were talking about last time, there's a lot of like homophobia and hate crimes and some like political stuff as well. But looking at the mental health side of it, there's also a lot of mental health correlates to identifying as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or as we look up here, it talks about like high rates of depression, suicidality, substance abuse. These things are much higher, much stronger occurring in people who identify as like a marginalized group, in which case here we're talking about orientation. And if you go back, it wasn't too long ago. I mean, it's getting longer and longer, right? But all the way until 1973, it was a mental illness to identify as gay or lesbian or bisexual. And it was a mental illness that required treatment. Now, Evelyn Hooker, who we talked about in chapter 2, was one of the people who got this removed from the DSM, kind of studying the differences between gay men and straight men in terms of sexual behavior. But all the way up until maybe about 10 years ago, it was actually practiced to do something called conversion or sexual reorientation therapy. Now, this was deemed unethical by the American Psychological Association. It's about 10, 12 years ago. But until then, it was relatively common practice to try and change somebody's orientation through therapy, through conditioning. And it was wildly unsuccessful, but it was practiced anyway. What they would do is take, for example, like a gay man, hook his penis up to an apparatus that would deliver an electric shock if he became aroused, show him pictures of other men, and if he became aroused or got an erection, they would basically give him a mild like electrical shock. And the idea was to recondition somebody to not be aroused by things that were deemed inappropriate. So this was done, like there were camps that people went to try and teach them better ways of reacting, better being like to be more like gendered, and also be straight instead of gay. And again, really ineffective, but it was practiced quite heavily. We don't do it anymore. Now we do just more like traditional therapy, trying to help people cope with like the negative attitudes and things that are coming up. But this was popular for a long time. I would drive by every time we would go up to Humboldt in the summer. I always drove by this little camp, and it was totally this. And then they changed the name, and like it went kind of like underground. This is still practiced, I'm sure, but it isn't approved anymore by things like the APA. And there was a movie that kind of made fun of this a little bit. It's a really like funny movie. Yeah. Yes, it is, but I'm a cheerleader. Some of you have seen it. It's kind of an older movie at this point, but such a great movie. I mean, they're obviously dealing with something that's very serious and sad, but they make it incredibly comical. And I have a clip from this. They do like an intervention to tell this young woman that they think she's a lesbian. And then they send her to a camp where they try and teach her to be more like feminine and try to stop her from being homosexual. The funny thing is they put all the gay people together in a room and they're like, oh yeah, act appropriately, right? And then, you know, they obviously don't. Yeah. American Psychological Association. So let me play this clip for you from this movie. Again, it's called But I'm a Cheerleader. And it's a great example of kind of what this would look like. Now they're making fun of it again, but this was a very serious thing for a lot of people. Let me play this for you. Let me turn this up. Definitely a movie worth watching if you've never seen it. Here we go. Paul being the like leader of the Straight is Great campaign is like the biggest joke in the world, right? But just that's RuPaul, if you didn't know. Looking very very, very toned down for something that obviously played it for the whole thing. That's okay. So what I love about that clip is it kind of shows you what this looks like. Again, even though they're making fun of it, it's like this a whole program. It's a 2-month program going in with an intervention, right? And then reorientating exercises. And it's, again, a super comical movie because it's these very, very like gender non-conforming people that they're trying to get to be very gendered in order to teach them to be straight. But this was definitely something that a lot of people did, as if we could flip a switch, right? Again, wildly unsuccessful. But I wrote it up here if you're interested in looking that movie up. If you haven't seen it, the whole thing is about this idea of reorientation therapy. And again, this is kind of more what we do now. But a lot of people who identify as gay or lesbian or bisexual do struggle with things like feeling left out or feeling ostracized, struggling with depression, suicidality, and so on, oftentimes going to therapy or needing some extra support. Just it's a little bit different now than it used to be. We're focusing on helping that person rather than trying to change them. Any comments or thoughts or anything here before I keep going? All right. In terms of lifestyle, so let's talk about some kind of lifestyle related things. The idea of coming out, something I want to talk about a little bit, and coming out of the closet. But before we do that, I want to do a little activity. You're going to need a piece of paper that you're going to turn in. So piece of paper, you can put your name on it, and then I'll tell you what I want you to write on it. We'll do something before we talk about this. So grab a piece of paper, put your name on it, and then I'll tell you what I want you to write down. Okay. Everyone got a piece of paper? Okay. So on your piece of paper, what I want you to write down are like 4 to 6 things that are big things to you in your life. So they could be things that you really like. They could be roles that you have, big things that are important to you in your life. So 4 to 6 things. So it could be a person. So like I might write like my family, My pets, let's see, trying to think what else, food, will probably be number 3, right? Now I've got food, football, my family, pets, maybe like my job, right? So things that are kind of like big to you. So they can be roles that you have, people that are in your life, things that you really enjoy, just things that are big to you in your life, right? Like 4 to 6 of them. You don't have to describe them, just listen. These should be kind of big things, right? Things that come to you pretty easily. Anybody need more time? This should have been kind of an easy one to come up with, right? These are important things to you. Okay, what I want you to do, I want you to find a partner. Okay, somebody that you don't know really well, right? So if it's somebody that you're really close to, find a different partner, but find a partner really quickly, right? So partner up with somebody next to you or around you. If we have to have a group of 3, that's fine. 2's easier, but it could be a group of 3.
I know you pretty well. Sure.
All right, everyone have a partner or a group of 3 or join? Perfect, thank you. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to introduce yourself to the other person. Tell them a little bit about you, but you can't talk about anything that you wrote down on the paper. All right, so take, I know, I'm sorry, that's awful, right? So take a couple of minutes, just like a minute or 2. Tell them a little bit about you. You can't talk about anything you wrote down. Okay, and then switch. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes. So go for it.
Yeah, I think
If you have. I'm not.
There's starfish in the top there. I was there just for the and my little head sitting on the water. Oh, yeah.
Together, just like that.
I like. I know, it's like stressful. I'll bring you.
So, was that easy to do, hard to do? Some of you looked like you were okay, and others looked like you were a little stumped. Easy, hard? What do you think? Bozo? Easy? We were able to talk about other stuff that you didn't write down. So I had you write down things that were core to you. And sometimes it can be difficult when people aren't out, right? Or haven't disclosed something like very key to their identity to talk about the things that are really important to them in their life. Did anyone cheat? Did anyone find a way like around it to cheat a little bit? Like you're like, I wrote down family, but I can kind of sneak something in there, right? Like that's something that sometimes people will do too, right? When they're trying to talk about a partner or talk about something important in their life. How can I kind of get around the truth in order to reveal something without revealing it? Yeah.
I don't think I cheated, but it was kind of in the same category. I guess.
Sure.
Size, but it's like a specific type of exercise.
Mhm.
And so I talked about how I used to play softball.
Oh, nice.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm cheating.
Right, and cheating's a harsh word, right? Like we'll say, like that's it's very loaded, right? But like kind of getting around it in a way, right? And so I wanted to draw this parallel here, and because we have this idea that coming out is like a one-time grand gesture, right? Like the idea is like you come out of the closet, like a grand, like I'm exiting the closet, I'm out to everybody. And that phrase comes from the idea of having skeletons in the closet, which means you're hiding something. Right. So when you come out of the closet, you air the skeletons, you kind of, reveal the truth. But when you're coming out, this is something that you have to do with every new person that you meet. Right. So it might be that you have like one big like reveal of like, I identify in this way. but it's an ongoing process. Every new person that you meet, you have to decide, am I going to be honest with them or not? Am I going to reveal this or not? And it's really interesting to me, like, so I teach college, my partner teaches high school, right? And in high school, she does not feel like she can reveal that we are in like a same-sex relationship. But it's amazing because in our house, I go by dad and husband. And so like she just says like my husband, my husband, my husband, my husband, and they assume. And it works out really, really well for us. And like I don't have any problem revealing that I'm in a same-sex relationship, but I don't feel like it's threatening so much in this environment. So it's really interesting. My partner does a lot of what we call passing, and her students like all like, what would your husband say? And they just assume like, and I come there all the time and have lunch with her and they have no idea that I'm the husband. So sometimes they're talking about her husband and I'm like, well, this is interesting. Let me hear all about this. Like, what does she say about him right now? It's funny, it cracks me up. And then I've had 2 students who came from her classes here and they're like, oh, you're her husband. I'm like, I know, right? Isn't that funny? Don't tell anyone, right? But it's funny when that happens. It happened twice now at this point. So I guess it was inevitable having students come from high school here. It's kind of a funny moment I've enjoyed. But very common to have to deal with that, right? Do I come out to everyone? Do I come out to some people? And again, that's where that phrase comes from, coming out of the closet. And the degree to which you are out to people can very much dictate like how comfortable you are and what your life looks like. How much are you trying to pass? And oftentimes people will do a level of this, presenting a false image or trying to appear to be homosexual or heterosexual, right? Depending on your goal. But it's something that people will do. They maybe date somebody, right, to make their parents happy because there's pressure from their parents, right, or a grandparent or a sibling or whatever, or just trying to fit in and not draw attention to themselves. I thought it was really funny. I'll tell you a random story. My first partner that I ever had in community college, her name was Kristen, and it was the funniest thing. Her parents didn't know that we were together. Like they just thought we were friends. I hung out there a lot for a friend, but that's okay. But they kept trying to hook me up with her brother, like constantly. They're like, Patrick, have you met Patrick? And I was like, yes, I have met Patrick, but I'm not interested in Patrick. But they kept trying to like hook me up with Patrick. And Patrick knew that we were together. So it was the funniest thing. Like the 2 of us would like, he'd pretend to flirt with me and I'd pretend to be excited about it and we'd laugh, right? And it was like a degree of passing, right? And then later they found out and they were like, why didn't you tell us that you were with her and not with him? And I'm like, because it was way too entertaining to watch you try and hook me up with her brother. But it's just that a lot of people have to do on some level. Yeah. No.
It's like me and then this girl brings her like roommate and it's like, oh, this is yeah.
What's it called again?
Happens.
Okay. Well, we're getting into that time, like soon. I'll have to look it up once it's November 1st.
Yeah.
Right. Sound good. I mean, that whole idea of like my roommate or my friend is another degree of passing, right? And it's kind of a joke, right? The term roommate, like, oh, we're roommates, right? Which can mean obviously a variety of things. I have a clip of this of passing. It's from an older movie, The Birdcage. If any of you have ever seen that, Robin Williams was the kind of main person in it. But again, this idea of trying to pass, and what you'll see in this clip is trying to act straight, right? And trying to act like, and this guy's very, very flamboyant, but trying to act like he is straight in order to pass to impress his son's girlfriend. So let me play this for you. Pause the gender role, right? We tend to assume that they aren't straight, right? And so there's oftentimes quite a connection between passing and coming out as it relates to gender as well, right? So again, something that a lot of people do to some extent, whether it's dating somebody, or pretending to be interested in someone or trying to act a certain way, maybe dressing differently than they would like to. And all of those things can kind of affect the way that somebody lives their life and the degree of comfort and kind of genuineness that they're having in their life that they're leading. Okay? A little bit more specifically about bisexuality, right? So we've been talking about orientation in general, but bisexuality, if we look at that specifically for a moment, again, this is somebody who traditionally can be interested in either sex or both sexes, or at least recognizes a desire that they might have interest. So they might not have acted on it, but there could be a level of interest in both sexes. Now, the textbook talks about 3 different types of bisexuality. It's kind of oversimplified, but it is, something that does get some attention and is talked about with a degree of regularity. So just to mention it, sequential bisexuality is when somebody engages in a relationship with one sex, followed by an exclusive relationship with the other sex. So maybe it's a woman who's in a relationship with other women, and then it's a woman who's in a relationship with other men after that, right? So one partner and then a different partner of the opposite sex or same sex. So it's sequential, one after the other. Contemporaneous would be having partners of both sexes at the same time or during the same period of time. And then situational might be due to like the situation that you find yourself in. So maybe there are no other options. And so you engage in what would be like situational homosexuality. So you are with a partner of the same sex because you're at an all boys or all girls boarding school and there's no other option, right? Something to that degree. And so what's interesting about bisexuality is I think there's a lot of stereotypes and discrimination of this population in specific, right? I want you to, here, we'll do this. I'll have you get into like 2 or 3 people again, right? Get back into pairs just for a moment. See if you can think of any like stereotypes of bisexuality, right? What are some like stereotypes that come to your mind when you think of like a bisexual identity? I'll just give you like a minute, right? See if you can come up with anything and then we'll talk about it together.
Yeah.
Like, so like maybe if you're like one, like have a little hard. Like bisexual, if they're sexually questioned a lot of the time, like how do they sexual questioning a lot? I think that's like you're not really the man, like you're bisexual, you just say. Yeah. Yeah, or like if you're bisexual, we're never bisexual, just as important for face.
All right, were you able to come up with anything? What are some stereotypes that maybe you've heard of or you know of that relate to identifying as bisexual? Anyone have one as a starting point? What's a stereotype? Yeah.
That they're confused, they don't know.
Yeah, that they're confused, right? You just can't make up your mind, you're confused or greedy. Sometimes I hear that too, right? You're confused or greedy. Right, yeah.
They're like just hypersexual or like.
Yeah, right. They just want to have sex with everyone, right? And they're just very hypersexualized. Another super common stereotype. Yeah.
Should be easier to make sex decisions for them.
Oh, okay, like easier to find
Yeah.
partners. And in reality, this can actually be a very difficult orientation because sometimes there's a level of like hiddenness to it. Like oftentimes gay and lesbian communities have like a very have a lot of like community, and bisexuality can be kind of invisible at times. There's I feel like bisexual men tend to get their sexualities questioned a lot of the time. Sure. I've had a lot of people ask me like, are you actually like bisexual or like you haven't dated a man yet or like something like that, or just I guess in general, a lot of bisexual people, if they're not dating like opposite sex, or if they are dating opposite sex, then people are like, well, you're not actually bisexual. Right, kind of questioning like the authenticity of the orientation for sure, especially if you haven't maybe acted on it to the degree that somebody wants you to or whatever to like have it count, right? Yeah.
Kind of more feminine, sexualized.
Yeah. Interesting. So the differences between bisexual men and women, and then oftentimes bisexuality in women is thought to be almost like trendy, right? Like it's almost for like entertainment or for sexuality instead of like genuine in a way. Yeah.
Maybe this is less of a stereotype, but sometimes people will not want to be even like friends with someone who's bisexual. I guess it could go for someone who's homosexual too.
Sure.
They're the same sex because they think that you're going to be attracted to them.
Yeah.
Even like with both ways, like if you're bisexual, it's like, oh, well, can we be friends then? Because you're attracted to both.
Right.
To me, it's like that's not how attraction works. Okay.
Right. Just because I could be interested doesn't mean that I am. Right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've heard that as well, right? That there's like a level of like transphobia that can come with that. Yeah.
We also talked a lot about how bisexual women tend to be hypersexualized.
Yeah.
A lot of like straight men are like, wow, so you're like bisexual. Like, oh, I've also heard like if you're a bisexual and you kiss a girl, it doesn't really count as cheating or stuff like that. Because like there's like it's hypersexualized because like a lot of straight men look at it as like, oh, it's just like two girls kissing, so it doesn't like really count.
Right. It's more like it's hot. It doesn't count. It like it's the whole like I kissed a girl and I liked it song. Sorry if I could just put that in your head there. Yeah.
So what's the difference between bisexual and pansexual?
So bisexual, traditionally, the way that it is you could be interested in either or, right? Pansexual is usually defined as like it's not so much the sex as much as it's the person. So it's like the sex doesn't matter anymore. So you're attracted to people regardless of their sex, if that makes sense. So you could be attracted to, maybe you're attracted to masculinity, but it doesn't matter if it's a masculine woman or a masculine man or just someone who's masculine, period. The sex doesn't matter versus this is traditionally someone who's attracted to both. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I think a lot of people who identify as bisexual could also be pansexual, right? In the sense that maybe you don't care what genitalia or what sex identity somebody has, it's the person. And that's kind of what we traditionally mean more by pansexual. Right. Yeah.
I was reading like the little picture.
Yeah.
And the top right one, my dad really asked me when I came out.
Yeah.
When he was like, have you known like girls who've been event?
Right.
But it was 2 years ago. I never even been in a relationship with a man.
Yeah.
So it was really confusing for him asking me that.
Sure.
When I haven't been in a relationship with either.
Right. Yeah, but it's a good point, right? And that's something that you hear a lot, right? Well, how do you know if you've never, been with either? And you can always turn that around. Well, how did you know? As a side note, because it's something that a lot of people identify as bisexual, even if they haven't acted on it, or identify as straight or gay, but you haven't acted on it. Maybe you just know, right? Yeah.
Is it in a relationship with one sex for a while? So maybe bisexual is like checking out another sex while you're in a relationship. Like, oh, how should you know that you like other people because you're in a relationship with
yes.
They judge you for that. Sure. It's the sex.
Yeah, and that is another actually really big stereotype is that people who are bisexual aren't able to be monogamous, right? That they aren't able to commit. I actually have a clip of that. It's just really brief, but I think it sums up like one of those stereotypes really well. It's from the movie Dodgeball, which is such a funny movie. I'll play it for you. It's only like 40 seconds, but I think it sums up that stereotype really well. So I'll play it for you just for fun. Sorry that it seems like the computer sound is a little on the quiet side. Were you able to hear the last one? Okay. It's a little quiet, but okay, here we go. Really brief, but they get tired of waiting. Here we go.
You. Yes. Why? What an your flight. I wouldn't have missed this for the world. You are amazing.
I told you she was a lesbian. Wow. Good call.
Told you. I'm not a lesbian.
Not.
Oh.
I'm bisexual.
All right. So again, right, it's that stereotype, right, of like there is no monogamy, right? And I think that that little clip like kind of sums that up, right? And that is a very common assumption, right? There's a lot of stereotypes and discrimination specifically here, but bisexuality is a really common orientation. There are people like Kinsey who actually believe that we are all born bisexual and that we decide like which way to go. I mean, obviously there isn't research necessarily to support that, but a lot of theorists have believed that we all have the potential for this, and that society kind of shapes us one way or the other. Yeah. Yeah.
So, some of these are kind of correlated, I guess, just that the fact that some people have different preferences throughout, like, so you
Yeah.
can be bisexual but have a preference towards it.
Sure.
And so it's, I guess, that kind of takes into play whether it's like a bisexual person or a pansexual person, just because pansexual person doesn't, they might have a bias where it's like, oh, like I want something more masculine or feminine, but it's less of like male, female.
Right.
Than boy, girl, than, you know, and I don't
Yeah.
know, it is really confusing though, because
It is.
it's like you said, a lot of people who identify as bisexual can also be pansexual, but I think it just depends on like, I personally believe that it's like such a spectrum and everyone
Yeah.
is so different that it's like, if you want to put a label on it,
Mhm.
that's what those things are for people who want that label.
Right.
But you can also be anywhere in between and call yourself bisexual and kind of be a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Of course.
I don't know, I just think you don't necessarily have to be bisexual or pansexual, and it's like, oh, well, then bisexuality isn't real. It's like, no, it's just for the people who kind of feel more on this side rather than on.
Yeah, and our culture so badly wants the labels, right? But it's important to remember you don't have to label yourself if you don't want to, right? I just bumped something, I made it mad. You don't have to label yourself, and you don't have to accept somebody else's label. And your label, if you give yourself one, can change at any time, right? There are a lot of people who identify one way their whole life until they don't, right? And they meet somebody else or something changes. Orientation is so fluid, right? It is such a spectrum, but we tend to want it to be very concrete, just like we do with gender. And that's why we sometimes get that confusion between gender and orientation, because there is a little bit of an overlap in that way. But we do have this strong tendency to want to stereotype and to want to box people in. And you can choose what your label is if you want one. And if you don't want one, you can throw that out, right? And that's fine as well. Ultimately, it's however you want to define yourself, if you even want to define yourself, right? But our culture loves to box it. Any other thoughts or comments or anything? So you have a homework assignment, and somebody, like I think it was 2 years ago, submitted 2 songs as one of their options for the homework assignment. And I think I'd like to just play them both for you and kind of, we can talk about them a little bit, or I can let you talk about them. They're 2 very different songs. So we have one that's kind of very like on the negative side, right, or a little bit harder to watch, dealing more with like hate crime. And then we have one that's a little bit more on the positive side, dealing more with like more positive attitudes. So I'm going to start with the harder one and we'll end with the happier one. So it's Take Me to Church, right? Did you call it? We were trying to guess, right? Yeah, totally. I mean, it's song, but it's a very it's a little bit hard to watch, so just a little bit of like a trigger warning with the video. There is a hate crime in it, but then we'll follow it with Same Love is the other song. Okay, so I'm gonna play these 2 for you, and you don't have to do anything except just, you know, let me give you just a couple of minutes with your group, right? Again, your same couple of people. Go ahead and just talk about it together for a moment if you have any reactions or thoughts, and then we can talk about it as a big group. So I'll give you just a couple minutes.
I don't know. Yeah, well. Yeah. Like very good about that. She mentioned the church like. Very good.
All right, so let's bring it back together then. I know both of them are I think they're both very emotional songs in their own way. So sorry if to bring up that for you if they are. But I think very, like I said, different tone. A lot of people don't realize it. I think they do now, but when Take Me to Church came out, if you hadn't seen the video, I don't think you would have any awareness that it was maybe about this, right? But that is what it was about. Kind of the metaphor of falling in love no matter to who, with the like synonymousness of like the devotion of like religion and church, right? So kind of this interesting comparison that they made between the two. And even this one, the second one, which has like a very positive message, is also very emotional, right? I don't know if you have any, I know you had a chance to talk together, but any thoughts or comments anyone wants to share? You don't have to, but any thoughts or reactions at all? Yeah.
I went to a Catholic all-girls school from middle school.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that the nuns would like oftentimes take me and like my friend at the time out of class and like have us stay later to like basically bombard us with questions about like if we were dating or if like we had feelings for girls and stuff. Just because of the way we would act in class.
Yeah.
And so like Take Me to Church is so like it
Yeah.
really hits that spot for like
Sure.
the mix of like religious trauma and like
Yeah.
being a bisexual person or just a gay person in general. It's like
Mhm.
it's intense. I also came out to my mom in like 4th grade by showing her that song.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that song
I
has
was
a
like-
lot of meaning for you.
It's about it.
Yeah.
And she was actually very upset because they were smoking a joint. And she was like, "Why are you watching that? It's gonna give you bad ideas." And I guess it did, but
Oh, I love it. But that was what she was upset about, not the other.
I think it was.
Or maybe a
I
little
think
bit.
Looking back, I'm like, it's a little.
Okay.
You know?
Interesting. That's what
Yeah.
gives you bad ideas, right? So that song really meaningful, right? That's interesting. I went to a Catholic school for 1 year as well. So I know what that is. It wasn't all girls, like, but it was a Catholic school, which I fit in so well. I had to wear the outfit and everything. Awful. It was in 8th grade too. Like, ugh, of all the times, right? Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, we were talking about this up here, a lot of religion in both songs, right? There is a lot of religion that is put into like love and sex and relationships, a lot of like religious dogma that's present. There was
Well, I remember like taking church out, me and my cousin listened to it, and my grandma was like, "I love that you guys listen to the song." It's like, yeah, then let's go to church. And I was like 10, and
Right.
then I was like, there's a line where he's like, "Well, sharpen his knife." I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about it. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It was just like they kind of walked out.
It's interesting, right? A lot of people were like, oh, I love this. It's a song about going to church. We're like, not quite, but that's okay, right? I have a bad habit of not listening to the lyrics of songs, which my partner teaches me. She's an English teacher, so for her, everything's like meaningful. Like it's got a great beat to it. That's like my level, right? And so it's interesting. A lot of people thought it was like a very pro-religion song. It's actually like very much a commentary on the opposite, right? And so it's an interesting dynamic, right? And again, this one too, there's a lot of religion put into it. So it's just something that we see a lot of. And this was something that a student shared with me as their homework submission. which I thought was fantastic, right? And I was able to pass it on. So that's the last thing I want to talk about. Speaking of your homework, I want to just take a minute before we're out of time today and show you that homework assignment since it's due a week from today. So I'd like you to be thinking about it. If you're on our Canvas page and you go to assignments over here, so now we're not fitting in, but assignments over on the left. Remember that you have 2 homework assignments in here. So here's homework 1 and 2. They're the exact same instructions. You're just choosing 2 options. So you're submitting one for the first homework assignment, which is due next week. And then you'll have one more in November that's due later. So just picking one for now. But if you click on this, it's basically a big menu of options. And you can pick anything on here. Or if you have another idea, you can always run it by me. I've had a lot of people present ideas of things they want to do, and generally I'm fine with them. So some of the options, just really quickly, and you can read over this on your own. I make it a little bigger here. So with all of them, you're basically doing some kind of like task or field trip or creation of something, and then you're writing a short paper. Okay, so the first option is you can go birthday shopping. You're not actually buying anything, but you're pretending that you're shopping for twins that are like 8. One's a boy, one's a girl. You go to a couple of different stores and you ask somebody what they would recommend. You record what they recommend, if it's gendered or not, what the toy aisles look like. Really interesting to pay attention to. Again, you don't actually have to buy anything. And then you write a paper about it. The second one is a little questionnaire that you can fill out about your sexuality, kind of reflecting on your sexuality, what has influenced it, and writing a paper about it. The third one is condom shopping. And again, you don't need to buy them unless you need them, in which case it's a nice 2-for-1. But you go to a couple of places that sell condoms. You write about what they have, where they are you being videotaped? How did you feel standing there? Again, you don't have to purchase them, but you could if you wanted to. You could go get tested for STIs. A lot of people end up doing this. You don't have to share your results with me, just your process, where you went and like the whole procedure, and you write a paper about it. Picking a sperm donor, you can go online and pick a sperm donor and think about what you would be interested in looking at, what would be the things that would be important to you. I've actually also had people go be a sperm donor as part of this, which is kind of a fun thing, and you get paid for doing that. So just a random side note. You can go to 2 different sex shops. This one is a lot of fun, I think. If the idea of it makes you really uncomfortable, I hope you pick it. But you would go to one of those 2, the Pleasure Chest or the Hustler store in Hollywood. And the reason I want you to go to one of those is because they're both very clean, positive, sex, like friendly, like very clean places, nice places. And then you could go to one other one of your choosing. You have to ask a question about a product you know nothing about. You have to write about your whole experience and so on. You could take a friend or a partner with you, a classmate with you, but that's another option. You could do something on sex and advertising. If you want to put together like a collage or like even a digital collage of sex and advertising materials and then write about it. You can find a couple of movies and talk about movies and how scenes from those movies connect to things that we're talking about. You could do an art project, which a couple of you have already run by me, where you create a sculpture or a painting or some kind of piece of art and then write a short paper about it. You can do a book report. You can read a book related to a topic that we're covering and then write a little report about it. I've had people run other ideas by me. I had somebody last year go to, where did they go? I just like it was like a topless club, and then they wrote about it, like a strip club, and they wrote about their experience and their stereotypes of it. And I was totally fine with that. I've had people interview somebody that's related to our class and write about that. So if you have another idea that's not up here, you're always welcome to run it by me. But all of these there, it's basically some kind of activity and then a paper, and it's worth 25 points and it's due next Monday. So because some of them require a field trip, right? Be thinking about it, be planning for it. And again, you're going to pick one for right now and you'll do a different one in November. So if you don't have a lot of time now, you could do a shorter one and do a more involved one next time. It's totally up to you. So think about it. I'll see if you have any questions on Wednesday. And before you leave, don't forget to turn in your paper with your name on it so I can give you credit for that activity, right? Have a wonderful day. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Wednesday, we start chapter 3, a little out of order. So chapter 3. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Do you have a question?
Or just like your.
Yeah. Okay, what is it? I love it. Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
What? But maybe that'll be some.
Okay, so think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that you wanted. It's fine to stereotypes, or you can talk about anatomy, you can talk about a variety of things that would go with it, right, about your experience. Like that too. So you can do that for, you're all gonna go together. Oh, I love it, right?
Yeah. She's, well, there's. I think these are what we should do.
You could definitely do that for this one, or the next one if you want to, don't wanna have to really do that right now.
Yeah, well, also, but it's do better than.
Yeah, so you can always do it for the one in November, you can do it whenever you want, but then,
Should I say it? Yeah, just, you should try. I had a surgery because.
Thank you.
I was going to eat my vagina with a tampon, like literally like a full flap, and I just had to get it removed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm
if you wanna write about that, we're welcome, that's totally fine, and, we can share what you're comfortable or not
Yeah.
comfortable, but like, if you want to, how traumatic, right?
Oh, it was the surgery and, but like the whole experience of birthing was,
Yeah,
so I literally fainted.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine that wouldn't feel good.
No.
Yeah, so if you would like to, I mean, there's no pressure, you can obviously, but if it's something you want to write out, yeah, if that helps you,
Okay.
you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got the notification. Did I send it to your class already?
Did you?
It just showed up on my.
Oh, really?
So I guess.
Oh, okay, for next semester?
For the online.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's one that starts,
Yeah.
or like a week from today.
I don't like if I don't do that. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, well. Really? No, like, so, when I didn't see that. But it's not just like. So, now you can actually do the practice, but also. When I try to follow you. Really? I'm sure she's in it. I'm probably. I'm saying. She saying. Well, yes, but. Yeah, just that. So no, like doing some classes. The choice of class. I was just saying, but there's a reason. Yeah. No worries. You know. Yeah. Simple. Yeah, so. Yeah. Yeah, I will do. Yeah, it's just sure. And I do.
Hi. Oh, it was good. I had a lot of time. So it's something I did and it feels like last year before I could actually buy it. Knows that important. I think my friend finally sent out a board I've been wanting for. And it arrived on Friday. I got it, installed and everything. And I've been having like fun with it in the past like couple days. And yeah, that's kind of exciting. I might like once I can, it's like it was to me interesting to know so I got to work inside of DOS. That's fine. And apparently there was an old Windows 3.1 DLL. You can use work inside. Yes. That is going, I got the card to like roll the. So we put it on the piece synthesizer card and it runs its console rounds actually. Yeah, oh, that's perfect. So it's actually a sorry inside of it. So it's like, I got the card to this, I got a window. Then. It's been, no, I never. Yeah, people are pretty bad. I've gone back. But having fun. So. Yeah, it's like our parents can use some old computers they had in more. And one of them doesn't even work. I haven't gotten around to yet. Or anything. At least two of them do work. So I wouldn't see that. Yeah. Like in total, the rules, my main desktop, my laptop, old laptop I'm gonna use before, old desktop, that's.